Welcome back to Edgework here on the Hammer Betting Network, a daily live NHL show Monday through Friday, 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Today is Wednesday, April 19th, day 3 of the 2023 NHL playoffs. Before we even get into anything here, Moretto, floor's yours. What do you got? What do you got for me? Let's hear it.
How are you feeling, buddy? How are you feeling after last night? That's what I gotta know.
Waving the white flag. Flip it the other way since no Leafs forever. It's just the white flag. And done, man. I'm done. That's where I'm at.
I feel bad, just going through Twitter.
No, you don't.
I'm so happy. No. The whole Wes McCauley costing you guys the game thing, and now that's like it's such a nice thing you guys have to lean on. I'm really happy for Leafs Nation, because if there's anything that this team needs, it's an excuse. Another free pass for this team. The lack of accountability that's been going on for the last 7 years, we just have like a bit more to feed into that right now. Like Wes McCauley was, objectively speaking, awful last night. The refs were brutal. They were some very bad calls and some very questionable calls. I think you have every right to be upset if you're a Leafs fan about some of the calls that happened in that second period. But also, does that mean the team gets a free pass for a huge game after all these Game 7 losses? Massive series for them, coming out Game 1 at home. You're down 3-0 at the end of the first period with no questionable calls in that first period. There was nothing suspect there. And so what excuses that start? Keefe just basically sitting there picking his nose on the bench, getting out coached right from the opening puck drop. It was wow. That was as bad of a Game 1 as you could possibly draw up if you're the Leafs, because not only is okay, our worst fears about Keith Cooper are realized. The bunting suspension might actually help, because I don't know what the deal is with that guy, but he's a problem. And then you have the Samsonov playing brutal, and now it's Keith's got a decision to make, and now Keith's got more lineup decisions to make, and the last thing you want is Keith making more decisions for this team, because every time he makes a decision, it directly hurts their team's chances of winning. So, you're putting more stuff in Keith's hand. I don't know. It's just this was about as bad as it could have been for the Leafs.
Yeah. And not only that, you poked the bear in this point. You've woken up the giant that is the Tampa Bay Lightning, which, it's interesting. I didn't think this was going to be one of the teams going into the playoffs to turn things up an extra level, the way that they had played the last 3-4 weeks. So, I've been saying, this is Toronto's chance, not so much because I like Toronto, more than I have in previous postseasons, which I do slightly, but I just thought this was a Tampa Bay team that was finally weakened enough to where somebody could take them down. And it just seemed it would be kind of cathartic that, would come from the Toronto Maple Leafs. But like you said, to have that 20 minutes be the start of your series at home, and you go back in the locker room down 3-0. Now you've woken the giant, and now that there's an actual series on your hands, and that kind of seems troublesome. When you mention, the huge coaching edge for Tampa Bay, and of course we know the huge goaltending edge now that Vasilevsky is back into his form.
Yeah, look, if you go online, I know you're going to see what Moretto is talking about. I want to make it clear to everyone watching right now, I do not blame the Leafs for the refs for what happened last night.
You don't blame the Leafs either, eh?
I don't blame the refs.
It's just subconsciously planted in your head.
That was all on the Leafs. Everything that happened. I do think that the refs, McCauley, was terrible last night. That's not why they lost. It's not why they lost. So for Leafs fans to go online and have all the what are they calling it in Toronto right now? Hopium. That's what they're calling it. Hopium. Have all the hopium and saying, "Oh, well, the refs, whatever." No, that's not what it is. And then for me, we're not going to obviously spend all the time talking about the Leafs here today, but just the last thing from my perspective is as a Leafs fan and as someone who watches us the entire time, I kept telling Moretto, and we talked about it numerous times ahead of this series, that the biggest concern for me above all else was Sheldon Keefe behind the bench. And yesterday going into the game, the lineups that he put forth and then the way that he managed the lines was outright embarrassing. Like, that was pathetic. At the end of the day, you are a worse coach than John Cooper. I don't care what you tell yourself. You are not as good as John Cooper. You are not as smart and savvy as him in any situation. So don't try to go toe-to-toe with him. And it's like he overcoached the situation, put together lineups that were going to cause problems, and then put himself in what we quite literally talked about on the Monday night stream on the Hammer HQ with Leboff in terms of this is what would be the worst case scenario for the Leafs in game one. Every single box that we talked about was checked coming out of that. And at the end of the day, the biggest question mark and the biggest problem with it comes down to a lot of what has to happen going forward is Sheldon Keefe making decisions. Obviously, the players have to show up and play. That's a big piece of this, clearly. But, like, it starts with the guy who's going to set the lineup and send messages to the media. And he's horrible at it. He's outright terrible at it. So, yeah, I don't know. Is there anything else you guys have to say about that?
I just want to make a small comment on this comment from the chat. It's not one game. That's the thing. Like, it's not one game. It's like it's just like such a long. Like, I don't know how we're like still having this narrative. Like, well, don't overreact to one game. I mean, yeah, sure, you lose, 7-3, you lose 2-1, doesn't really matter. It's game one of the series, but like, this is all the same habits that we saw for the last 7 years as to why this team is constantly losing in round one, and all the same winning habits from Tampa, all the same, gamesmanship from Cooper, and like everything that this team does well when they need to and when they turn it up, and all the things the Leafs do poorly when it, comes to crunch time. Like, it's not one game. It is just confirmation that this maybe is the exact same team, and the deep-seated problems with this organization and with this team still apply here. And I don't know how you can like have confidence in betting on that, because what is like the Keefe issues, like with the lineup issues, like all this stuff that you're kind of worried about this team doing. And now, you obviously have like the goaltending controversy and all this other layers on top of it all. But like when it comes down to it, like this is the same thing we've seen so many times. So like it's not one game. It is absolutely not one game.
Yeah, and for me, looking at certain series, I like to take it in a kind of storyboard form, is what I call it, and just look at everything period by period. If Toronto comes out of that first period and wins, they're up 2-0 or 2-1, and then they eventually lose that game, that's not too bad. Okay, it was a competitive back and forth battle, and they happened to drop game one against a really good team. But that wasn't the case. Just getting completely no-showed in the first 20 minutes. And then still having to fight back, but then putting yourself behind the 8 ball and all the different bad calls and stuff. Yeah, it's definitely not just one game. That felt like 2 losses.
That's what does it for me. It's the no show in the first period. It's like game 7 loss after game 7 loss, series loss after series loss. Like, this is like, hey, Matthew says they have a right to be confident. They're coming to this series confident. They have a right to be. Fair enough. They had an incredible season. Maybe a better team than Tampa top to bottom, depending on, your thoughts on that. But like, you come out and lay an egg in game 1 at home after all that, like that is just like, oh, that's just so hard to swallow. That is just, it's like, this is the same team, that the same problems still apply. Oh man, that's rough. And then like the worst part is like, now you can, I feel like we've had the same conversation over and over again. And the worst thing is like, Leafs played a brutal game, right? So like, okay, it's fine. They're going to probably play better next game. They're going to probably play better at many points throughout the series. But like, they played a bad game, lost. There's a strong chance they come out, tomorrow night, play a very good game. Vasilevsky makes 45 saves now, and you're down 2-0. Even though, you play your good game, and now Vasilevsky steals his game. So like, you lost a game without Vasilevsky really having to steal anything. That's coming at one point. So like, yeah, there's a lot of warning flags here, in my opinion.
Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna take this, and thank you, Insight, for picking me up here this morning. Wake up! It's the best thing that could have happened.
They've had wake up calls for 7 straight years.
No, Moretto, no. Wake up call. Best thing that could have happened.
Yeah,
that's what it was. Wake up
Call.
There you go. And
this is one
big difference.
That makes a difference.
Somo mojo this season.
That concerns
I'll take
me.
That
concerns me.
Any other games from last night that stood out to you guys that you kind of wanted to recap? Anything that happened last night? Anything surprising? Anything like that before we get into today's games?
I was delighted to see 2 goals early in that Ranger double game. That's a big bet of mine. That first period over.
Yeah, I saw you tweet about. Yeah.
I think the Vegas looked really bad.
Oh yeah.
Winnipeg, like you know, I was on Winnipeg, and then Ehlers is announced out. I make some stupid decisions and try and get out of that play, and I do. And Vegas ends up laying an egg anyways. So like that was concerning. And then from the Devils Rangers game, yeah, I think that I talked about this on our series preview for that. Like, this Devils team just doesn't seem like a team that's going to have success in the playoffs, and I think that kind of the difference between these two, you know, the way these two teams played kind of showed last night. A lot of like kept to the perimeter. The Devils couldn't really get anything going. It was ugly. There was definitely some concerns there in terms of how they might fare the rest of this series.
And yeah, but that Vegas game, I was actually watching it on a live betcast, and at one point I'm watching it on cable, but it looked as if like my stream had gone into half speed on this Vegas rush in the third period. It's like, no, they were just skating that slow. Like, how did they look that gassed already in the third period of game one? That's a bad sign. And once again, it's another team where you don't want to poke the bear, because Hellebuck gets in the form and starts playing like at his elite level. That series might actually be over quicker than most people think.
Yeah, it's crazy. You figure, like, you know, if the Jets are going to win this series, it's going to be because Hellebuck probably has a fantastic series. Like, they won last night with Hellebuck not even being tested.
Yeah, exactly.
Not something I would have expected at all.
So you give him a half a game to just basically kind of rest for most of it, and now he could be focused and ready for game two. Yeah. Something to look out
for. Jeremy Kahn here saying Leafs need more Red Bull. I think Vegas needed some more Red Bull there as well last night, but. All right, we'll get into tonight's games, give out best bets, and I just want to remind people, if you do want to track the picks given out through the course of the playoffs, through the course of the season here, you can do so on the BetStamp app, where you can find us in the Find Better section. A little bit of a rough day for us there yesterday. McKinnon overshots on goal wins, but the over in that game loses. You got Winnipeg moneyline wins, under 6 in Leafs game. You lose by... I'm just going to use it for fun. By the hook in the Hughes overshots, and then Devils money line there loses as well. So a little bit of a tough day, but it is what it is. It's all there for transparency purposes, all third-party verified for you. You can do that on the BetStamp app, but you should always make sure that you're getting the best price on everything that you bet. And we feel like the easiest way to improve as a sports bettor is by using multiple sports books and getting the best odds. We recommend using an odds comparison tool like BetStamp to do so. BetStamp compares odds across every sports book for games, futures, and player props. You can save time and money by checking BetStamp before you bet. Make sure to download the app today. You can find it in iOS, Android, as well as on the web. And if you are looking to sign up for a new sportsbook account, please check out the offers available at betstamp.app/edgework. You can also find that link in the description of this video here. So if you do want to sign up for a new sportsbook, click on that. If you sign up through this page, it helps support the show. So we appreciate all the support. Make sure if you're watching as well, hit subscribe, hit like on this stream. But let's get into the games here tonight, and I'm curious kind of how you guys are going to look at this one going.
My bad. Press the wrong button.
Especially here, as I saw in the chat, I mean, Insight brought up the Lipsman split. He brought it up the other day in the show, and we talked about it this morning with Moretto here. 4-0 last night for not only underdogs, but all road teams. You're looking at so far 6-2 for road teams through the first 8 games of the playoffs, and I'm curious as we break these games down how much that'll play a factor into things that are going on. But we'll start here with the Canes Islanders game. Carolina up 1-0 in this series and win the first game 2-1. Looking at the odds right now, Islanders plus 151 on the road at Carolina for this game too. Moretto, looking at this one, kind of, do you have any general thoughts on how this might play out? Isles' ability to respond, and then where the market's set at right now?
Yeah, I mean, this is like, there's like kind of like this reaction now that Carolina is like going to just, you know, win this series so easily after that game one. I thought there were a lot of positive signs from the Islanders. Like, they gave up very little at 5-on-5. Their power play actually looked a little bit better, even though they didn't score. They had some huge chances that they just couldn't quite bury. And then Carolina scores both their goals on the power play. Like, you know, I don't know. I think that I still kind of like the Isles here in this series. I still think they're going to make it very competitive, especially when it gets back to the island. They're a tough team to beat there in that barn. And in terms of tonight, though, like, I'm not comfortable really backing the Islanders at this price. You know, total's not really anything I want a part of. There's just nothing in this game that I kind of like. I do expect to see a little bit more from the Islanders, though. Like I honestly thought that there were some positive signs. And again, like, when you have Ilya Sorokin, you can at any given night you can win these games. So at these prices, it's not the worst thing to back. But yeah, I have literally nothing in this game that I care to bet. I just want to sit back and see how the Isles respond to that game one loss.
Yeah, if you like the Isles and haven't taken a stance with them, this now is your chance to do that. You can probably grab plus 300 to plus 320 for the series. That would be something I would recommend for me. I still have my lottery ticket alive, my 48-1 that all the home teams win games 1 through 7. So we got a good start with that. I'm hoping that can continue. Might even sprinkle a little bit with the draw, although you're not getting as much value on this number as you would with some of the other games. You're only seeing between plus 310 plus 326. So, shop around, of course. But, yeah, usually you'd be, looking for a plus 340, plus 350. I think a lot of people are betting this thinking that it's going to be another tight, close game and probably could go past regulation. So if I had to bet something on this individual game, that would be the look. But I'm just going to keep kind of riding with my future play.
All right, so we'll stay off that game with the Isles and Canes there. So go to the next one here on the schedule. Looking at Florida, Boston. Obviously Boston there. All the reports coming out that these guys had the stomach bug. Was kind of running through the team dealing with that, and yet they still come out. Looked like they were in essentially cruise control and find a way to beat the Panthers 3-1 in Game 1 there. Going up 1-0 in the series. You're minus 233 at home tonight in Game 2. Alex B, is there anything that you would be looking at to play here? Would you be interested in getting behind a price? I mean, it's not like too expensive, but minus 233 on the Bruins at home in Game 2.
I would take a side shot with them. And if anything, like I said, this is another one, maybe sprinkle a little bit on the draw because Florida's got to play a full 60-minute game here if they want to stand a chance in this series. Now, I've been very vocal. I believe Boston wins all 4 games here, so I don't trust in that. So that would be the look if you do think Florida has a chance. But, the play I like here is the first period over. I grabbed that yesterday, 1.5 minus $1.30. Still get that within that same kind of a range. Like I said, I think Florida's going to have to, press the tempo and try to match that intensity, match they got to play like they did last year for at least 20 minutes. In order to kind of shift things their way, and then they can make the adjustments they want if they can at least try to get out with a lead or at least a tie in that first period. I think that's what's going to set the tone and momentum. So I do like goals here early. It's just a matter of, is it going to be Boston running away with it and keeping the momentum from Game 1, or can Florida kind of match that intensity and they trade goals back and forth? But either way, I'm looking for the over 1.5.
All right, over 1.5, a minus 124 there. We'll lock that in. Full unit on this?
Yes, full unit.
All right. And Moretto, any thoughts for you on this game?
Well, let's hope that it's Boston jumping out to a 2-0 lead, and then there are no goals the rest of the way because I'm on under 6.5 here. Yeah, I mean, you look at this game, Bergeron's going to be back now, I guess, and you've got like the Bruins just the Panthers generated like some decent offense in that first game, but like then you've got Ullmark to beat too. And realistically, I expect a little bit of a better, more solid team performance from Boston here, just after everything they were dealing with in that first game. Yeah, I think that they're still under 6.5. Are like not like widely available now. If you could play
there's
like
minus 125 available here.
Yeah, we can do that. There's like I played it at minus 115, minus 125. We can lock that in. That's probably like as short as I go though. Okay. But yeah, I mean, again, you got Ullmark on one side. Lyon had a solid game. Boston I think one of these games where Boston just sort of controls it, looks to just get this 2-0 series lead, going back to Florida, just sort of business-like performance from them. I think the 6.5 is just a little bit too high for me.
Okay. I see here Insight saying McDavid and Pasternak anytime goal parlay plus 260. Do you guys have any thoughts on this? On jumping in on some goal scorers and McDavid possibly bouncing back? I know we'll get to that game in his last game. We'll get to, but yeah, as we talked about the Bruins game and Pasternak here.
Yeah, it's not a bad look, honestly. I mean, especially you're talking about guys that you're going to be, almost certainly laying a price to back either one of them individually. So, tying those two together, that's not a terrible look.
Yeah, I don't play too many goal scorer things. I don't mind Bertuzzi to get a point tonight, though. I thought that line with him and Pasternak have been awesome since they've been playing together. And
yeah.
I don't mind some Bertuzzi stuff, however you want to play that.
I can see a bottom line guy chipping in for Boston tonight too, like a Garnet Hathaway or something.
Yeah.
I feel like you could say that like every night, though. Yeah.
Oh, you can't. I know you can't.
Yeah.
I think he stands out in my head.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I just mean with Boston as soon as they get to the playoffs, it's like I feel like any night you could be like, yeah, the guy who could score the game winner tonight would be this guy, random guy, fourth line. He played 6 minutes, but he'll score the game winner of 2. All right, next game here on the schedule, Dallas, Minnesota gave us an absolute marathon game the other night, going to double overtime. It felt like Dallas was destined to win that one. We joked about it yesterday on the show, the fact that if you were listening to the commentary, they declared Minnesota dead essentially the entire overtime and the entire second overtime. I don't know if you guys caught that at all, but basically every single time that that they cut to camera break, they kept saying, if Minnesota loses this game, the series is over. It was like, well, it's game 1 here, and then Minnesota finds a way to win. Double OT, 3-2. Alex, you're in Minnesota there. There's obviously, you're probably right around feeling the vibes of the city. Can you talk to us a little bit about what's going on, what the energy is like in Minnesota there, and then kind of what you might be looking at in this game between Dallas and Minnesota tonight?
Well, yeah, everyone's still hopeful, and you're right. The feeling would have been, had they lost that game in double overtime, that the series would have been over, because it's like what we said with Toronto last night. It's the same old story, and that's what everybody would have been saying around town. Here we go, tough game, but then they find a way to lose it. So now, in winning that game now, and shifting the home ice momentum, this is now an official series, and certainly with the animosity and, you've got the storylines built in now with the Pavelski injury, the Dumba hit, this back and forth now, and it'll be interesting to see how things shape out in the first period. This is one where I'm probably going to be staying away from this game altogether. Once again, like I said, if you like Dallas tonight, now's your chance to try to jump in on the series price, because you're getting +10, +115. That might be the way to roll with that. But I could see this being a bit of a higher scoring game, so maybe a lean to the over. I know this has been a Wild team that's tried to keep things low and slow of late, but I think Dallas is going to come out with that intensity early, and they're going to draw the fight out of Minnesota. I did say this in the first period of the last game, but you could tell it was that more of the feeling out process. Now these teams are acclimated. There's no more feeling out. It's balls to the wall, back and forth. So I might end up taking a shot with that over, probably in game.
Okay. Moretto, and we all know you were on Dallas heavy going in. If you follow Alex on Twitter there, you would have seen him tweeting ahead of time. If you were watching with us on Monday night on the watch along on the Hammer HQ, you would have felt the vibes that were going on. But looking at this game here tonight, an opportunity to bounce back in the series, bounce back here betting wise. What are you looking at tonight between Dallas and Minnesota?
Yeah, I was petrified after the first period and a half of that game, because the Stars just full on looked like shit, for being honest. They scored a couple power play goals, but they looked really bad. They couldn't get anything going. They turned it around big time. I don't know if they rallied around the Pavelski injury, what it was, but they absolutely dominated the Wild. Third period, first overtime, second overtime, had, that the third period basically felt like an overtime too, just with tight game like that. It felt like, next goal wins for quite a long time there. And I thought they had about 10 different chances to get that next goal. The Wild maybe had 1 or 2. So there were still some very encouraging signs. I'm definitely not hitting the panic button. I still thought Dallas looked very good. I think that they showed that just how much they can control the balance of play on a night-to-night basis in this series. Gustafsson played really well, but it wasn't just Gustafsson standing on his head. It was also, puck hits the hit inside of the post, trickles across the goal line. There was another crossbar later on. There's that stick save on an open net with Marchment. There were so many different chances that were not necessarily Gustafsson making the save too. Just couldn't really buy a bounce. I think they'll be fine ultimately in this series. In terms of tonight, I'm not really betting on anything on this game just yet. I think there's a lot of injury you have to kind of keep an eye out for right now. Still, we still don't know exactly who's playing in this game. So, like, is Pavelski going to play? Is Eriksson Ek going to play?
There's no way
Hartman
Pavelski can play. There's no
playoffs,
way
baby.
Pavelski can play.
It's the playoffs. It's the playoffs.
Oh my God. I know, I get it, but wow. The other ones, yeah, fair.
I don't know. By all accounts, like, it sounds like Pavelski was doing really well after the game. Sounds like everything was fine. Wyatt Johnson lives with him, was talking about him. He's like, yeah, like he's doing everything completely normal. Like everything was completely fine. You know, he was a little woozy for a minute. Got those
fingers am I holding up to?
Yeah, you get the conky legs under you for a second, and now you recover. Hopefully it's a quick healer. But no, obviously don't want to rush him if he's not healthy. I'm not saying throw him out there, throw some dirt on it, whatever. But there's a chance he plays. Like I'm not saying he's playing. Whatever, there is a chance he plays tonight. Outside chance or not. Eriksson Ek, I think there's even less of a chance that he plays. Maybe that's just hopeful, but I don't know. He didn't skate yesterday after skating on Saturday, so I think that he's still sort of they're not rushing him back quite yet. I think even though he made the trip, I think it's more likely he plays in maybe game 3 or 4. I'm sure Hartman's going to play, but yeah, we'll see. I don't know. I still like the Stars in this series. I still like the Stars tonight, but not something I'm comfortable betting right now.
Yeah, I more meant the Pavelski in like disbelief. Like after what we saw about him, we were watching that live was like, I couldn't see that guy touching ice for at least a week, let alone playing game 2. But maybe he just goes Paul Kariya, return to game and go hero mode on you there. But never know. We'll see what happens here tonight. Yeah, that injury news and stuff that to come out today will be interesting to follow. But final game we'll go to here before we wrap this one up: the Edmonton Oilers LA Kings game. LA big comeback to close out the third period against Edmonton in game 1. There, Oilers fans not impressed, throwing things out on the ice. I was gonna try to troll Edmonton on Twitter, and then decided not to because I was like, "Oh, karma's gonna bite me," and then it didn't matter anyways. So I just let it be. But throwing things on the ice there, and you lose in OT to the Kings power play. LA on the road there, going up 1-0 in the series, winning 4-3. Now looking at prices here tonight, plus 203 on the Kings to get it done again on the road against Edmonton. Alex B., any thoughts for you between LA and Edmonton? Any way you'd want to play this one?
Now, this is one where I will jump in on the first period puck line. I grabbed the half a goal for the Edmonton Oilers at plus 125. This is definitely a spot where I think Edmonton's got to come out, firing, and you have to come out with establish a big lead. Now, they did that in game 1. Meant nothing at the end when they blew it. But I think, you have to keep that pace and tempo up. You have to open that same kind of way. And then you have to make the necessary adjustments to keep the pressure going into periods 2 and 3. So it's basically, I'm backing Edmonton to play better in this game overall, but I'm only trusting them to, get out of the first 20 minutes with the lead. And then I can make adjustments there. If I want to, choose to back them, maybe I can grab something else in game. I can go the other side and bet LA to come back in the same kind of pattern as game 1.
Did my mic cut out, or were you on mute?
Yeah, we can't hear you.
Yeah, we can't hear you, Zach. Well, so for this Oilers game, he's looking at me like I'm crazy, like I have 2 heads. I'm like, whoa, what did I do here? Were you throwing to me? But yeah, the Oilers tonight, I do think they win this game. I'm not like we're dying to bet it at this price. They played well. Like honestly, again, this is a situation where I'm not going to overreact to one game because I think that they did play a pretty good game in game 1. They largely controlled the bounce play. Things just sort of didn't quite go their way, and then they obviously blew the game late. It is what it is. I still think they'll be fine in this series. It's going to be, I always expected a hard-fought series. I expected a series was going to go 7 games. I like the Oilers to win the series. I took the Kings plus 1.5 games. It's just kind of the nature of it. It's going to be difficult for them. I like the under here. I think this is going to be a very tense game. Very, very tense game. I like the under at, minus 115. It's good. 113, perfect. I I think it's going to be, it's going to be, there were, expected goals weren't exactly like the highest in that first game. Skinner played well. Korpisalo played well. All things considered, I think that we're going to see, the Oilers, like this is kind of a must win for them. You're not going to go down 2-0. We're going to see them play a very structured game, very smart game. And I think again, 6.5 is just a little bit too high for me. I don't see it getting up there. Obviously, anyone who was on the under in that first game, like I was, pretty crushing way to lose it with that very late goal. Hopefully we don't have to deal with that again. That would be really nice. I'd rather not. I'd rather not sit through another, 12:45 a.m. Time goal. That's like, all right, I'm staying up till 2 tonight. Nice.
Yeah. And I think, I think a lower scoring game actually, benefits Edmonton. I think most people probably think, if Edmonton's winning, it's going to be well over the total. No, not necessarily. I think for Edmonton to accomplish what they need to do, I think that under would kind of suit them.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes, we can.
All right. I don't know what happened there. There was nothing that happened. I literally just turned off mic and turned it back
Wes
on.
McCauley's fault.
Yeah, I'm blaming Wes McCauley. He was out to get us. All right. Recap the picks here for today. So what we're looking for in the games we got 2 plays in Boston, Florida. We're looking at the under 6.5 -125, and the over 1.5 -124 for the first period. So we're looking for 2-0, and then that's it. Call it a day after the first period. We'll just run it out there. So that's under 6.5 -125 and over 1.5 -124 in the first period. Full unit on all of these, by the way, to anyone listening on podcast or just watching back later. And then the next picks that we have, we will go another 2 picks here tonight in the Edmonton LA Kings game. We're going to go under 6.5 -113, as well as Edmonton first period puck line, the -0.5 plus 135 in that first period. So that is under 6.5 -113, as well as the first period puck line for Edmonton plus 135. Full unit on all of these. Thank you to everyone who tuned in here today. Greatly appreciate it. Alex, thank you guys for doing this again here today. Every Wednesday, the Alex Squared. So it's enjoyable, other than when my brain at first, when we start the show, just flips back and forth, and I have to remember to call you guys different things each time. But thank you guys for the insight, the analysis. Appreciate it as always. Good luck on your bets tonight. Hopefully things go in your favor, and we can flip this one around, Moretto, for Dallas, get them back on track.
Need it.
But to everyone in the chat, appreciate you guys tuning in. Tomorrow morning, we will be live at 9 a.m. here on the Edgework channel. We will be going earlier tomorrow. So 9 a.m. back here with myself, So Money, and Rusty Bill. Come join us tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. on the Edgework channel. To everyone out there, see you guys tomorrow morning. Good luck on your bets tonight.